Hey, Katrina Russell here. I did my last video on my religion and how it relates to my belief in science, and I just wanted to add a little bit more to that on the religious side and kind of talk about mostly the hypocritical things that I see people doing in the names of religion. And I can speak mostly to Christian religion because it's the one that I am most involved in and the one that's most, I want to say, popular in my country, because I don't know what country you're going to watch, but I'm from the States. So Christianity has obviously formed a lot of our laws and beliefs and different things. For instance, people shouldn't gamble, and it's illegal to gamble in most places, and prostitution and all that kind of stuff. And that all comes back from the days of the Pilgrims and the Christian way, which is ironic considering they say, that's all we can go with is they say, but Mary Magdalene was a hooker back in her day, basically, and how she was to be forgiven. And yes, Jesus turned over the gambling tables, but that's because they were taking place actually in the temples, which seems to be okay now. Like, they can do the bingos and the different things in the churches, but not. It's just a very dry. We used to have blue laws for a really long time in Massachusetts, which is where I'm from. They just ended where you couldn't buy alcohol on Sunday, and yet in the Catholic Church they give you wine. So there's a lot of things that kind of don't add up with that type of thing, and it's one of the things that turns people off from religion. The Christian religion specifically is the one I'm speaking of because it's, again, the one that I know. But from my understanding of Christ's teaching, he teaches to love everybody, and everybody is your brother and sister. And from the original 10 Commandments, love thy neighbor. And thy neighbor means the person who's not your familial. So a lot of people take that as like to love their direct people around them, but that's actually the opposite of what it was meant. I mean, it's easy to love the people in your family and your friends, but when you love your neighbor, it's the people who's not associated directly with you. It's about loving people outside of your familiar. So back when the Bible was first composed, and the words were first spoken about this, your neighbor was like the neighboring villages and the neighboring sects of different things. It was not like the people in your village was like your family. That's who it was. So if you loved your neighbor, it was loving people who were not like you. And that was the whole point. Now it seems like everybody is your enemy unless they think exactly like you. And I think that's ridiculous. I personally love to learn new things all the time. I'm one of those people that's perpetually in some sort of class, either when I was in college and changed majors 10 times, or now there's online classes of all different shapes and sizes, and YouTube videos and books. I mean, I have literally a library in my house. It's a little ridiculous, but I like it. And I just like to learn information. I like to talk to people. And guess what? I've had my mind changed about things all the time. I learn a new thing and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Well, that changes my perspective on this just by learning this one fact. For instance, I was watching someone speak about, and now again, it could be true, it could not be true. Jesus had said, the meek shall inherit the earth. But again, Bible translations go through how many languages before we hear them? And I mean, you say you speak English, but just in the United States, how many different ways can we say soda pop, tonic, Coke, all the different things that we say, and that's one word. From what I gather, the Eskimos have like 60 different ways to say snow or something like that. So translations can be very crazy. So I was listening to someone, and he was saying how he's done a lot of research into the Bible itself, and one of the original translations that he read for the meek shall inherit the earth was actually those with weapons who don't use them. So it's not really the meek. It's not the people who cower. It's more the intelligent or the ones able to compromise, the ones able to have a conversation without killing each other shall inherit the earth, which makes totally more sense than the meek, because the meeks don't really do much. And the same thing with love thy neighbor. Like, the words just get complicated and confused throughout time and has a completely different meaning than what was meant to say. There's a lot of hate from Christians. Now, those words should not go together, ever. Hate and Christianity should not go together. That's pretty much what Christ's whole life was about, was getting rid of the hate word. And a lot of Christians hate homosexuality. And I think this is, now, I want you to say right now, I'm not gay. I am straight as an arrow. I have a son. This is not about me. This is about hate. And a lot of Christians hate gay people. And it's like, I don't understand. I don't understand why you care. I'm going to be honest. I don't understand why you care. Yes, there was discussions of things happening to gays back, 5,000 years ago, and God not liking them. There was also discussions about like how you shouldn't eat certain foods like shellfish and breads and what have you, and people seem to forget about those, and how women should be stoned for all kinds of silly things. And personally, I think a lot of things came from humans interjecting things into the Bible. I'm not going to lie. But I also think there's a certain amount that goes with evolution. And I find it very interesting that, million years ago, whatever, however many millions of years ago, when we were all, came out of the billions of years ago, whatever it was, when we crawled out of the seas, and then we became the next creatures who became the next creatures who became the next creatures, because yes, I believe in evolution, because I'm not crazy. And I think we're still evolving. Like, people will say, oh, we're not changing now, but we are. Like, there's people who with so many more allergies than there used to be. That never used to be a thing. There are people, different parts of our brain cortexes are growing in exponential amounts, and memories are getting shorter because of this, but our logic is expanding here, and things are changing all the time in our limbic systems and all kinds of things. So one of the things, when you look at the Old Testament and they say, he said, go forth and multiply, it makes sense. They needed people. People died all the time. People died in childbirth. Babies had a very, very, very small chance of surviving to adulthood. You needed to have like 20 kids in order for us to be able to survive as a species. So the original message was to go forth and multiply. Great, we did that. We've gotten really good at being alive. We have medicines, and we have, structures that keep us safe from elements, and we are better at staying alive in the world than we are better at keeping ourselves alive and not killing each other. Like, that's the crazy part. We kill each other and ourselves far more than like the world kills us, if that makes any sense. So back a couple thousand years ago, even a couple hundred years ago, even 100 years ago, 50, my dad had polio, for crying out loud. So even 50 so years ago, it was like you could die of all kinds of diseases. Things weren't clean. Things, the world was out to kill you. It's basically what it was. And so you had to have a gajillion kids to make sure your family line survived. Now, you have a better chance of killing yourself, either through your lifestyles, drugs, food, just laziness of never moving, driving like a crazy person, hobbies of jumping out of skyrockets, I don't know, all kinds of things, or war. Like, that's where people die now. They don't die from, diseases. They die. Like, back when there used to be wars, like the Civil War, more people died from diseases than the war itself. Now, people just die from the war, from being blown up. So now it's more about us killing ourselves. So we've evolved. We've evolved to the point where we can control what kills us. That's what it comes down to. So we're now starting to look at overpopulation, and we're starting to look at there's too many people, especially in certain areas of society. So there's an old kind of Christian joke about how the man was in a hurricane or something. There was a man in a hurricane or something, and he gets stuck on a rooftop in a flood, and a raft, like in a stick, like a log floats by, and he's like, I'm not going to take it. I prayed to God. He's going to come save me. And then someone in a raft come by, and they're like, come with us. And he's like, no, I prayed to God. He's going to save me. And then someone in a boat comes by, and no, I'm not going to go. God's, prayed to God, he's going to save me. Finally, like a helicopter comes, and he's like, look, this is the last thing. Like, we can't keep coming out here. You're not going to come. And he's like, no, I prayed to God, he's going to save me. And obviously the man dies, and he goes to heaven. He's like, God, why didn't you save me? He's like, I sent you the log, the boat, the heli, like, what else did you want me to do? I sent you everything that I could. But people tend to forget that God works in mysterious ways, and that he doesn't just stick his hand out of the sky. So perhaps, since we know that evolution is real, a lot of the reasons why homosexuality and gender identity and all of these things are changing in society so much isn't because they're the devil, isn't because of those things, because it's been proved, like, people are just born this way. I'm sorry, you can't tell me that they're not. They're just they're just born this way. Not to quote Lady Gaga, because I don't particularly like her, but there you go. And it's possible, let's just throw this out there, that these inventions like birth control and like, I don't want to say abortion. I'm not a big fan of abortion. I'm going to be honest. I do think you're actually killing a baby, but I understand it needs to be legal because it's going to happen anyway. Just like I think drugs should be legal because it's going to happen anyway. So you might as well have some control over it. Anyway, make it as safe as possible. But things like birth control being invented and people falling in love with their own sex so that you cannot reproduce might actually be God's will. It might actually be his way of saying, look, there's too many people already. I still want you guys to fall in love. I still want you guys to be able to enjoy yourselves and everything else, but we don't need that many more people. So here you go. Now, that's not to say that means that I feel that people who are gay should not have children, because that's not what I'm saying. And I know I have lots of gay friends that are wonderful parents, and that's not where I'm going with this. But what I'm saying is that evolution happens for a reason, and this could be just a step in evolution, that these things are changing because it's the best way to control overpopulation, to have stuff like this, to have it be that you have to purposefully go out and make a child instead of accidentally make a child, which is the way it's been most of everybody's life. I know very few people who have not, I've never accidentally made a child myself, but I know very few people who have not accidentally made a child. And that's including once they're married. Like they get married, they're not really intending to have children right away, but whoops, it happens. It happens all the time. I know people who are actually on birth control and used all different kinds of things and accidentally had a child. Clearly there was a problem there, hormonal or whatever. Point is that just like the helicopter that was sent to the man on the house or the mountain or whatever it was in the flood, sometimes God intervenes by making sure things are created, like birth control, like vaccinations, like clean water and sewer and electricity, and all the things that we have that keep us alive today. So judging people in the world based on things that were happening 5,000 years ago seems a little outdated and ridiculous, I'm going to say. Just like eating shellfish and going to hell seems a little ridiculous. Now, it's possible that people said this because people had shellfish allergies, and all of a sudden they'd eat it and they'd die. And they say, you know what, let's just not eat that. That's an easy way to fix this. Just don't eat it. A lot of the stuff had to do with cleanliness issues. And perhaps God told them, this is not the safest thing for people to eat. Don't eat it. That's fine. That's fine. He could do that. And now there's new, different ways of dealing with it. People understand allergies. People understand allergy tests and keeping away. And they have those, the EpiPens. My kid loves peanut butter, but I tell him all the time, like, you have to, like, if he has peanut butter toast or something for breakfast, I'm like, you need to wash yourself good. And he's always like, I know, I don't want to kill my friends. Like, it sounds crazy, but it's true. He can kill his friends from peanut butter. Evolution. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I don't know why peanut butter is a thing now, but it is. The point is that everything happens for a reason. God's reason, in your Christian mind, in my Christian mind. So if everything's happening for a reason and everything is God's will, then how about you stop hating it? Start accepting it, start loving it. And even if they're wrong, who cares? That's not your place to judge. Judge, yes, I can't even say the words. Judge, lest ye be judged. People in glass houses. All the things that Christ said. Stop it. You have your own problems. Trust me. Look at yourself. You have your own problems. Everybody has their own problems. I have my own problems. You have your own problems. How about you fix those before you worry about who somebody else is loving? Literally loving. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. So if you like what I had to say, or even if you hated what I want to say, but you just want to hear me say more things you hate and then talk about how much you hate me, that's fine. I'll get over it. Like, follow, share. And I'll see you next time. I gotta come up with like a tagline because that's what I need. I need like a blah, 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 blah. My kid watches way too much FGTV. Anyway, all right, bye.